And with us today, we have Nicole Strickland from the Afterlife Chronicles, author, paranormal researcher, and afterlife researcher. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. I love the brother-sister duo, so this is so cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is a blast to have you on.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read your book because it's not out yet. And so I was looking at your other books and stuff, and you cover a lot of different topics, I see.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it seems like I don't, but it's like, the grass is greener on the other side, I guess, what people say. But yeah, I do. It's a passion to be involved in this type of research. So
take our listeners back a little bit and tell us about your background. What got you into the paranormal?
Yeah, this is a good question. So I'll try not to go too much on a tangent because I know we're
go for it. We love it.
Time here, right? So it goes back, oh gosh, way back to when I was a kid. And I know this may sound kind of cheesy or wonky to some people, but I often that I was almost destined to be in this field just because of how much passion I have for it, researching the paranormal and the afterlife. It's something that I really enjoy doing. So this goes back to when I was really, really young. And so I was born I live in San Diego, California, and I was born in Huntington Beach, California, which is obviously a little beach town.
I used to live there.
You used to, oh my gosh. Well,
yeah,
we'll have to talk after because we will talk. All right. So, yeah, I lived there until I was about 1.5. And then my dad got a job as a pharmacist in Las Vegas. So then that's what made us move to Las Vegas. And then I lived there until I was about 7 or 8. And then, of course, came back out to San Diego. But I had some odd experiences in Las Vegas in our house that I really couldn't explain. One night, the first one that I can really remember, we had a pool in our backyard and we were getting out of the pool. It was dusk. Maybe it was in the summertime, maybe like 8, 9. And we were drying off. And then all of a sudden I saw this like grayish, morphing into a humanoid shape. And this, I was like 5 here, maybe 4.5 or 5. And I remember, and I don't know why I use this word, but I remember asking my mom and dad, and I say, Mom, Dad, did you see the draft? I don't know why I termed what I saw as a draft. I was like 4.5 or 5, but that's what I or asked, and they were oblivious to it. They didn't see it. There was I guess as an adult, he was like maybe an 1800s gold rush days type of apparition. And I would talk with him. He would come through frequently. So I had these experiences way back. And so the interest in the paranormal, specifically ghosts and hauntings in the afterlife, that area, that stayed with me. And so I read books and I got my hand about the subject. And then fast forward to college years at the University of Arizona, my mom's mom, so my maternal grandmother, Helen, she passed away actually on my mom's birthday, which is really odd, October 25th. Wow. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. And so I talked with her the night before. And then the following day, my mom let me know that she passed peacefully in her sleep. So I went back out to San Diego to be with the family for a few days. And then I went back out to Tucson. And then I had some odd experiences in my apartment that I didn't have before her passing. And I, at first, chalked them up just to being that I live in an apartment. But the doorknobs would rattle by themselves. And one thing she used to go do at night is she would go around when she was in the physical, she would go around and make sure the doors were locked at night. At first, I didn't think much of it. And then all of a sudden, one night, I felt disembodied hand caress my face. It felt very familiar. And so then I started to put 2 and 2 together. And I thought, okay, could this be her trying to communicate? I still wasn't that sold, though, just because I lived in an apartment. Then a few nights later, there it was. I was studying, doing work for school, when all of a sudden I saw her full-bodied. She appeared maybe about 10 years younger, wearing one of her favorite dresses. She had like a halo behind her. She didn't say, but smiled and then faded away. And so I thought to myself, did I project this? Because I'm grieving, of course. I didn't know if it was some sort of bereavement hallucination or anything like that. But needless to say, all these experiences occurred. And then I told my mom about it, and we talked with Helen openly and let her know that the family's okay. She doesn't need to worry about them. And then after that, the experiences stopped like they were. Every once in a while, she does come around, especially during holidays and things of that nature. But that one experience propelled me, I guess, out of the lab, so to speak, and really active into investigating the paranormal. And so that's where, when I started kind of, doing it all, investigating spots and businesses and private homes and things of that nature. And everything just, I guess, unfolded as it was meant to be. So that was the shortened version of it all.
It's incredible to be
Yeah.
able to see a full body apparition like that.
Yeah.
How long did she last in your vision?
Yeah,
Was
that's a
she
good question. She it almost played out in slow motion, as a lot of these sightings do, but some of them are so quick, and others seem to, even though they are quick, they seem to like play out in slow motion. That's what it was for me. And I
Mhm.
would say in time that we know, maybe about close to 2 seconds.
Okay.
And I also saw her fade as well, and so that was a pretty long, and she appeared in color. One of her
Oh,
favorite blue and white dresses. She looked like about 10, maybe 10, 15 years younger. She was more plump, She died at like, or she passed, I should say, transitioned at 96 years old. So
wow.
she looked, like she was maybe in the 70s. And it
Wow.
looked like a spotlight was behind her, shining against her back. And it gave her that like very bright
Oh wow.
halo. And
That's
so
cool.
it was a beautiful, beautiful sighting. I really credit her for me getting on this journey, because I can't say that I would be where I am today in terms of really involved in the paranormal if it wasn't for that experience. I probably would be, but I
Mhm.
really do for that. So amazing. And I was very, very close with her as well. So it was very difficult, having talked with her the night before. And it was weird. I left this out, but now I remembered to mention it. The day before, when she called me, she asked me, "Are you okay?" And at the time, I thought, well, this is random. Why is she asking me this? Now it all makes sense, because she used to
Mhm.
worry a lot about the family, and, was always worried about them, being okay. Is everyone all right? Things of that nature. So, I miss her. I miss her greatly.
Sure. Did she appear to anybody else in your family?
You know what? I've asked that question, not to my knowledge. No, not
Mm.
to my mom, not to her other daughter, not to my cousins that I know of. So I think it was just me that I know of.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder if she understood that by you seeing her would put you on that path.
Maybe.
It's like she gave you some insight into it, and
I
knowing that you were curious about it.
I think that's a good, very, very astute point. I think you're right on the money with that. I agree totally.
And when
So
you were talking about how long she appeared to you, it kind of made me think that I wonder if obviously there's no time on the other side,
right,
so a second to us could be hours or even years to
Right.
them, or
exactly,
vice versa.
right.
So when you saw her, I mean, the clarity in that kind of makes me wonder if she took you into her time a little bit so that you could take that time to see her, even though it was only a few seconds.
That, you know what? No one's ever said it like that, and that's
Mhm.
that's amazing that you put it that way, and that very well could be.
Yeah,
It
because
just it
I hear that all the time. People say, "Well, it was only a few seconds, but I remember so much."
Mhm.
You
remember,
know,
and yes, you just get, it's quick for us, but you don't know how much maybe she was giving me some information about the other side, not knowingly, but
yeah,
just more like maybe a subconscious level, I guess, so to speak. But there's something, and it's weird. When I first started out, I was mainly interested, and I still am, don't get me wrong, just investigating and capturing EVPs and getting photos and all that. And don't get me wrong, that's still wonderful. But
hmm
I'm now it's more involved to, or it's evolved to building that rapport with the other side and with the spiritual energies, and getting to know a little bit more about their domain. So that's
yeah,
what's really propelling me now, as I'm almost kind of delving more down the afterlife research road, obviously involved in paranormal, but there's something very special and very beautiful about afterlife study and research of that of the other side. So
Yeah. And we do investigations too, and we do.
mhm.
We don't have a team, but we go with a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And I've noticed lately that we're kind of shying away from getting to a location and setting up all this equipment and cameras and all. And it's like, no, just get back to the basics.
Right.
Judge your feelings.
Mhm.
We just did a jail down in Tennessee, and
Oh,
we didn't have much equipment with us. We just went into the way we felt it.
Yeah, we
there
just
you
wanted to
go.
experience it for
Mhm.
ourselves. Like we didn't have to have photographs or proof or evidence. We just wanted to go and see, what was there, what we were feeling, what we were seeing,
Mhm.
which was some things, and feeling a lot of things, and hearing a lot of things, which was was
Yeah.
incredible.
That's the way to do it. That is the way to absolutely. I mean, even if I was like, a millionaire, I still would not own every single gadget because I feel like less is more. And
Mhm.
going in with yourself and your senses and your body, I mean, that's it right there. You don't need a lot. You really don't.
We
Yeah.
like our spirit box, and we
Mhm.
like our recorders, and
Yes.
sometimes cameras, but the rest of the like lighty up gadgety type things, like they're great, and they serve a purpose, but for what we do is for us, just for our own
Exactly.
personal experience, and we've had some crazy experience.
I know. I bet you have. And I'm like you. I'm more interested in and always have been in the audio
Mhm.
experimentation. That just seems to be where my interest mainly lies. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Tell us
EVPs, ITC, all that stuff. Good
Mhm.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Has your grandmother, or I'm sorry, my memory is blanking out. It was your grandmother that
Mhm.
came back to you.
Yeah.
Have you had any EVPs and stuff from her?
Yes, there actually is one. So, my team, San Diego Paranormal Research Society, we've had tenure. Now it's been closed for about 3 years because of the pandemic, and so I'm sure the tours will open up soon. But we've since about 2011, we've been doing paranormal tours at the Rancho Buena Vista, which is an old historic adobe up in Vista, California. For those that are familiar with San Diego, if you were to go north, it's sandwiched right in between Oceanside to the west and then San Marcos to the east. And so it's a beautiful old historic adobe built in the 1850s. There's a whole history to it. Of course, we don't have time to get into that today. But so we've done monthly paranormal tours where we'll take people on the property, take them through the rooms, and do like a divining rod session. We run it kind of like an investigation, a live session. We do some spirit box work. And so one night, I want to say this was 2017. Now we were leading a tour and we were in the master bedroom and we were, doing questioning and things of that nature, doing a spirit box session. And so not heard live because I would have commented on it. I didn't hear it until I reviewed the audio a couple of days down the road. So again, I'm not so sure if this is an EVP that came through or was it some sort of ITC that maybe I didn't pick up live when I was there. And it was both my grandfather and my grandmother. Okay,
Hmm.
so her husband, of course. And so my grandfather's name was Andrew F. Lopinto. He was a medical doctor here in San Diego. His nickname, they're Italian, so his nickname was Fulvio, and it was only known to the immediate family. So as I'm reviewing the audio file, I hear Nicole, I love you, which sounded
Oh,
just like his voice. Like he
goosebumps.
Yeah.
didn't say it was him, but it's like it was as if he was alive and I was talking to his voice. And then after that was my grandmother, and she said, "Fulvio, go home, dear." And it was
Oh,
just like I literally took my headphones and like threw them just not they didn't break or anything. They threw them on the couch and I was just like, "Oh my god.
Oh
Did
my
this
that's
really happen?" I mean, it was their voices and the fact that she said Fulvio, and that's a name only known to the immediate family.
Mhm.
So, insane. Yeah.
that's incredible.
I
That
know.
captured.
I'm sure
I
you
captured
guys
my
have
dad.
experiences like that too, though, you know.
Yeah, I captured my dad's voice after he passed. I could feel presence in my house, and I pulled out my recorder and I'm like, "Whoever's here, tell me your name." And he said his name, and it was his voice, and I was just like, "Oh,
Oh,
it
wow.
was
I mean,
amazing."
that
I
feeling you get, right, after
Mhm.
that is just wow.
You know,
That's
and
amazing.
you tell
Yeah.
people about it, and they're like, "Well, let's hear the evidence." I mean, I've had some that I've played for people and that, but it means so much different. The
Mhm.
difference, or means so much difference to you than just
Mhm.
playing it for someone else.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly.
Have you ever experienced or recorded anything during one of your shows?
During, like, the radio shows. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good experience. So, I'm a cat lover, right? I am one of those crazy cat ladies, I swear. My, cat Kaylee, who her brother Max passed in, gosh, 2000, it was February of 2016. So then it was just me and Kaylee. So Kaylee was 18 and a half years old, and she passed away peacefully on
Mhm.
December 19th, 2021. And so it was a few days later, it was the next time I was doing my show, The Afterlife Chronicles, and it was dedicated to her. So it was like an in memoriam for
Mhm.
Kaylee. And so we were talking about her. My mom actually came on, and my mom was sharing the drive because we had to take Kaylee over to the veterinary specialty hospital, for her transition.
Mhm.
So my mom was telling the guests that I was driving, and Nicole had Kaylee in her lap, and they were just looking at each other the entire drive. And so as she was sharing this, now this was not heard live, so this was heard when I re-listened to it.
Mhm.
So right as she was sharing that, Kaylee meowed. It was like
Oh,
her meow right after she was sharing, and it was after. And then I came through and I said, "Well, yeah, we were on our way for her to go home or something," meaning, to transition. And then
mhm.
her meow came through, which
That's
was
incredible.
not heard live though. I mean, I something made me listen to it
Yeah.
Mhm.
just out of curiosity, and I couldn't believe it. It was about, I think, 13 seconds into the show or something like that. So so it was
It
insane.
it's so interesting because, we've been doing this for a long time, and we've had the strangest things happen. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know if they're attracted by the stories we're telling or the electronic equipment, but, one day Joe and I were here and, we were recording and just I mean, literally out of the blue, Ave Maria started playing over our podcast. We're like,
Mhm.
"What happened?"
Whoa.
I mean,
Gosh, see, but
strange.
I forget what the
that's
show was called.
That's the
synchronicity.
other Yeah.
Mhm.
That's synchronicity right there. That's how
Mhm.
I think synchronicity is one of the gateways to communicating with the other side. It's amazing how it works.
And it's
Wow,
neat that,
that's
we
Yeah,
talk about
scary.
EVPs and stuff, and to have your cat meow as an EVP, it means that the cat should know, or how can I say this? The cat knows about the electronics and how to communicate through that electronic so that
Yeah,
you could hear it.
smart
yeah,
cat.
that's interesting. You say that. She would not that I would explain to her, when she was alive in the physical. Okay, so I'm gonna go and here's the equipment we use, but
Yeah.
she
Mhm.
somehow they know that that's what we
Hmm.
do,
Mhm.
and they're able to retain it somehow, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
and
wow,
maybe on
Ave
the
Maria.
persuade I know, it's crazy, and
That's
we've captured
awesome.
a lady we were talking about this,
The Greenbrier ghost.
Greenbrier ghost. So it's the only case in United States history where a ghost's testimony helped convict her murderer, which was her husband who murdered her. And as we're talking about this, we hear a scream come over the mic. What's interesting because when Joe records, he records two tracks, my track and his track, and they're
Mm.
separate. And then when he edits, he puts them together. We both heard it in our earphones, but it was only on his track.
Mhm.
It was so
Yeah. Strange.
yeah,
That's
weird, weird stuff.
oh my god, I'm
Weird.
wondering if you were picking up actually the what
Mm,
actually occurred.
Yeah.
yeah, and it wasn't like faint; it was loud.
After we get done
Wow.
recording, I'll play it
Yeah,
for
we'll
you.
play it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. Oh my gosh, I would love to hear that. That's
But
amazing, and to just have it captured on only one recording and not the other is,
Mhm.
that's interesting.
yeah, and that's
So
why we love talking to fellow podcasters and fellow radio hosts that because we hear this stuff and we're
yeah,
like, does it really happen? And stories like yours confirms that it does happen to other people too.
it does. I know. I
And
don't.
you know,
It's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was
Oh,
just going to say, like, one of the things which I find interesting is, you know, a lot of times people get messages or communications from the other side, and it's always like this person from 1897 appeared, or but most people these days in modern days know about the equipment. They know
mhm.
about electronics.
Right.
They know about podcasting. They know about ghost shows and spirit communication. So it's like, what happened? This is the big mystery. What happens when you go on the other side and you have that knowledge?
Hmm.
Like, come, come communicate with us. Bring it on. We
That's
want to hear you. We want to talk to
that's the
you.
big mystery. That's the big
Right.
Mhm.
mystery. It's like, how is it done?
Mhm.
How is an EVP? Is it? I mean, Todd Bates is a host of Haunted Voices. I co-host the show with him. He's a big time audio guy, very much into like old school EVP and things of that nature. And so I've said things of that nature like 5 times. I don't know why. I never say that phrase. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. But anyways, so he uses a lot of the time, an old analog tape recorder. And so,
Mhm.
we were talking about, how is it that voices can occur in EVP form, and maybe there's something about the emulsifying on the magnetic tape with analog recorders. I don't know, but it's a mystery on how it happens. It's not so much the how for me. You want to know the how, but the
Yeah.
experience is important too. Not so much the
Mhm.
how, but
Yeah,
so
and I look at it as we're recording onto a device. We're using electronics. We know that spirit, or we assume spirit is pure energy. I mean, we always say,
mhm,
it's energy. We go, so I'm just assuming this, but maybe they just understand that energy is energy, and you're putting energy into the recorder because it's electronics and stuff. So maybe,
right,
but I mean, then it goes the same with when we're out and we hear voices audibly.
Mhm.
It's like
exactly.
they don't have voice boxes.
Mm-mm.
They're not moving air like we do, but yet they can make noise and they can talk and we can hear them. And it's amazing. And one of the
It
things that we're
really
talking about
is.
now is um, the more we know, the less we know. The more we learn, the less we know.
Isn't
The more-
that the truth? Isn't
yeah.
that the truth? Yes, for
Tell us,
sure.
tell us a little bit about, like, your journey to writing your ninth book, the Afterlife Chronicles. Like, what kind of things did you look into or research for that book?
Oh, yes. So the whole writing, I mean, I've always liked to write. I was one of those in college. Oh, yay, we get to write a paper. Yay. I was just always one of those weirdos. Never, though, would I have ever dreamed at that age that I'd be an author at some point. But here we are. And it's just,
Mhm.
things evolve as to how they're supposed to. And when you have a passion for something and something that you enjoy researching, it makes the writing process a little bit more enjoyable as well. So I'm a traditionally published author, and so the Afterlife Chronicles is actually my first, I would say, major self-published book. I did, after Kaylee passed, I did do it was an article, but it turned into like a short ebook about Max and Kaylee and their journey and all of that. It has some very neat spiritual experiences that I've had with them in that little ebook. So that technically was the first self-published book, but the Afterlife Chronicles, is really the first major self-published book. And it's one of those situations where it's not hard, it's just very tedious and time
Mhm.
consuming. But once you do it once, then it's the next one, you know what to expect.
Mhm.
So I was researching things of, should you get an imprint? Should you not? I found that having self-published authors that have an imprint, it just looks more professional. So I went ahead and did that. and then researching ways to self-publish. You can have like Book Baby there's all kinds of different organizations that can actually do the book for you and all of that. What I did is I wrote it, and then of course I obviously know my editor and had an editor, and then I had my book cover designer help me with it. But I decided on after talking with a lot of people publishing through KDP, which used to be Create Space on Amazon, and then I'll be doing second publishing through Ingram Spark, which will it worldwide. So it was a lot of research, finding, how should you price your book, things of that nature, just getting everything set and ready to go. It's funny, I just got the proofs today from Amazon. So and I was so like nervous to open up the box because this is my first time. I'm like, oh my God, it better be okay. And it looks okay so far. So I'm like, all right.
First page is right, second page is upside down. First page is right, second page upside down.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
This not for resale obviously won't appear, but that's the proof. So I did a lot of research before I started writing the book, but then as I was writing, I talked to people who've self-published. That's very good because then you can get information from them. They have the experience. They can guide you in certain ways. But speaking of the book, like I said, going down into that afterlife research road, so to speak, the book just came to be, and it's one of those books where, okay, it took maybe like a year or less to write, but it took 40 years of my lifespan because it includes all of what you've learned and things of, so there's a lot of information in it. I think probably like 10 or 15 books could come from this one book, but I get into besides talking about different aspects in relation to the afterlife, there are about 17 or 18 contributors who shared some profound experiences that they've had with the book. So and that makes it interesting. So I talk about, what is an afterlife and getting into aspects such as the mind, body, and spirit connection in relation to communicating with the afterlife, spirit communication techniques, both traditional and alternative, spirit guides, how moving through grief and loss can help you connect with your deceased loved ones. So there's a lot of information in it, but the stories contained within from people, I think, make it interesting. So, yeah.
That's great.
Have you guys written a book?
I have 8 books published.
You have? Okay. Oh my gosh. I knew I read that somewhere. Jeez,
it's like birthing a baby, really. Your book is your baby, and you cuddle it, and then you grow it, and then you gotta put it out in the universe, and you're like, don't judge my baby.
I know. Oh my gosh, I am such a dingbat. I read that you oh my gosh, my brain went there for a second.
I have a different genre. Mine's more fiction than nonfiction, but that whole process of writing is so cathartic, though. Like being able to just purge all of these thoughts and ideas and things into some kind of sort of sense, and then to be able to share it. Joe and I are very motivated to write more. We really Joe wants to look more into the aspects of NDEs and
the shared death
experiences.
Yes.
Because that's where I got into it. I had a shared death experience with my best friend, and I'm working on a book about her life, and I'm working on a book about other people that had shared death experiences. Not so much near death experiences, but actually shared death where when the person passed, something happened to them also.
Right.
And
you don't hear that too often.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm going to put in my best friend Dana's story about her mom being, when her mom's husband died, he came to a bunch of people before he came to her. Wow. And she could never figure that out. And I said, well, if he came to her first, she'd probably be in a loony bin right now. Yeah. So he came to other people first and kind of warmed her up to it. And so that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on my experiences with my best friend Jackie, who passed, and then work on those.
I think,
That's
when you
beautiful.
have those shared death experience, you have a soul connection with that person.
Mhm.
It's just
I
not some
agree.
random stranger like, oh my gosh, George over in Montana just passed away and I felt the
Right.
spirit. It's
Yeah.
somebody you have a deep soul, or maybe some kind of like twin flame type
network, yeah.
connection. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
That's going to be a fantastic book. The NDE's shared death experience are so fascinating, and I think it's one of those gateways that can really allow us to learn more about life after death and the connection. There's this, and I talk about it in the book, there's this parallel connection between mortality and the afterlife, and there's something out there in the cosmos. It could be a combination of a bunch of things, maybe not, but whatever it is, it's bringing the two worlds together. And more people are open to sharing experiences that they've had with departed loved ones, and more people are open to communicating with the other side. So there's this really beautiful duality between both worlds.
Yeah. And I think that with everybody getting more open to it, it is more prevalent in society, and it shows people, you don't have to worry so much.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Fear the fiery pits of hell.
Right. I know. And that you hit it on the
and
head there. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted
No,
you.
you're
I'm
fine. I don't care.
sorry. Shame on me. Oh my gosh. But
It's just just one of those really debatable topics, like what happens. Some people are staunch. This is this and this, and this is, you're going here, you're going here, you're gonna get warmer, you're gonna float on a cloud.
That's
But I
right.
think there's just so much more, and maybe it is just the influx of paranormal shows and radio shows and podcasts that are opening people's minds up to other alternatives of what happens when we transition to.
I agree. It's like
No,
it's waking
that's
it up for some reason.
and that's
just
what's nice
waking it
about
up.
like your show, the Afterlife Chronicles. People that are curious can go to that and listen and learn, instead of having to go to someone and say, tell me about this. No, they can actually listen to a show that is specific on the topic that they want to learn about. And
Right.
instead of, we go to conferences a lot. We hear a lot of people come in and say, we didn't know where to go, so we came here. And with the influx of different shows that are out there, like your Afterlife Chronicles or even Haunted Voices, people can go to these shows and listen and not be afraid to, worry about if they're going to be criticized by their friends or whatever.
Yeah, that's well said. I can't agree more. Absolutely. I'd love to have you guys on the show. It's on hiatus right now, but when I get it rolling, I'd love to have you both on. I think that'd be a really fantastic interview. But yeah, there's something that's waking up this connection between both worlds, and I think it's a very beautiful thing. And it's one of those reasons why I get extremely annoyed with, the provocation and the exploitation of the spirit world. That's a whole nother topic, but I tend to be very protective of the spirit world. That's just me. Take it or leave it. So
yeah,
it's hard because when you have a lot of people who are interested, are they interested in the true research, or are they interested in their ego of like, look what I found, or look at this dust orb?
Exactly.
I don't need to see 400 pictures of dust orbs. Like,
No.
I'd rather just go sit in a cemetery and talk to somebody and have them come over with my recorder.
You hit it right there. Ego.
But how would you know if there's not a big red circle around it?
That's right. Let's switch gears a little bit, and I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about San Diego and some of its famous haunting and places that you've been and places you want to go that you haven't been.
And
it's San Diego,
places she's wrote about.
Yes.
Oh,
I did.
yeah. Oh my gosh, totally. San Diego is, well, it's considered one of America's most haunted cities, right? I think
Mhm,
it's I think it's because there's different layers of history. So we have, the Native American period, we have the Mexican period, we have the Rancho period and all of that. So there's all these different historical periods, and they kind of all gel and tie together. So it makes it a nice foundation for paranormal activity. History and the paranormal are like best friends, right? In many
mhm,
ways. So, oh my gosh, there are so many locations in San Diego that you can investigate besides the claim to fame, which is the Whaley House.
mhm.
Just
Right.
Old Town San Diego in general has a lot of different places. The Cosmopolitan Hotel, there's restaurants, there's El Campo Santo Cemetery, there's the Sarah Museum up near Presidio Park up there that we've done a few times. So there's all these different places. The Maritime Museum of San Diego, Star of India, and Berkeley Ferry Boat are two ships very well known here in the city, very active. You can spend like 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. in the morning on either ship and just really come away with a lot of experiences and
Mhm,
paranormal activity. Down in Gaslamp Quarter, it used to be called the William Heath Davis House. It's now the Davis Horton House, which has, a lot of activity. But there's besides known places here, pretty much anywhere you go in the city is fair game. Even out in the East County, we have it's an interesting topography because we have, the ocean to the west, we have the mountains to the east, there's
mhm,
deserts, there's water lines, there's train tracks, there's all these areas that almost serve as capacitors for, different haunted locations, even private homes. I mean, we've done so many there in the city, I should
mhm.
say, not just San Diego, but North County as well. So is there one location in particular that you wanted to talk about in San Diego, or just in general?
Just in general, I mean, I love, I went there a couple of times when I lived in California, and I loved it. I just couldn't get enough, right? Like, it's just amazing. Now, you've done residential
Hmm.
investigations with your team.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered something that was just extremely dark or scary, or just like this above my pay grade type um,
Not,
encounter?
let's see, in specifically in private homes, no,
Or
that
in
I can say,
any
or
location?
any, oh my gosh, no, no, not in my experiences. There was one time, and I can't say, it was just the way it happened. We were up in Camarillo at an old, I'm going to keep this place confidential just because it's
Sure.
now a university, but a lot of people in the area will hear me say Camarillo and they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It was an old a mental hospital there, and it's now a college university. And so we were there one night, and I was setting up like just a static IR camera, and all of a sudden this 6-7 foot tall shadow figure, darker than dark, appeared and just came right toward us. That
Oh
was
my
something very
gosh.
startling, but I've never, I'm not fearful of the energy. I'm not at
Mhm.
all. I think a lot of it is what you put out, you get back. So I'm one of these that's very respectful on things I don't like to provoke, goof off too much. So I
Mm,
don't, usually get friendly back.
mhm.
Uh, Now, sometimes with, like, for example, private residences, you're encountering some darkness, but it's not the paranormal, it's the people living there. So it's kind of
Mhm.
the opposite. So you have to weave through it, and that's one of the reasons why we're like super super selective with
Mhm,
taking on private homes. There's a lot of information that we need to weave through because you don't want to make it worse for them. You want to make
Mhm.
mhm.
sure that they're not, trying to fool you, things of that nature. That's a whole another discussion, but, trying to think of anything felt really, really threatened. No, I can't think
Yeah.
of just that one
Gotcha.
example.
Yeah.
So,
Now, is there any place, we'll say, in the United States that you are dying to go to but haven't been to yet?
Oh my God, there's so many. My goodness. There's other areas too in California I didn't mention, like Queen Mary, Preston Castle, all throughout the coast. Gettysburg is down. So I
Woo!
will. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have been there like many, many times.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe I haven't been. So
you
Gettysburg,
have to.
Stanley
You
Hotel.
have.
Yeah.
You can
I think I'm
actually
going.
rent. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
You can actually rent a house like a Verbo or a Airbnb
Mhm.
on the
Yeah.
battlefield that was there when the battles were going on.
No
It's
way.
I found,
super haunted.
yeah, we
I got
were planning on
goosebumps right
going
now.
back,
Yeah.
and I was looking into different places to stay, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I want to stay in one of those houses
Yeah.
because we're going for the experience.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to be going, I think not this year, but next year, 2004, with the Ghost Research Society headed up by Dale Katzmarek. So I'll be doing
Awesome.
that. It'll be my first time, but that's definitely, I would say, out of all the locations in the US that I haven't been to, I would say Gettysburg is
Mhm.
definitely right up there. So
Yeah. I mean, right here in Ohio, we have so many. So, like, if you're driving to Gettysburg, stop in Ohio, go to
Mansfield,
Mansfield.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another one.
Oh my God. It's incredible. I mean, like, it is. I mean, even if you just did the day tour, you're still going to experience
Of
something. Like,
course. Of course.
we,
Mhm.
we go every year. There's a giant convention, Parapsychon, which is coming up. And, when we were just setting up at like 9 o'clock in the morning, we were
Mhm.
experiencing very odd things. So,
Mhm.
can't
Prisons
even
are
start
phenomenal
to
to
tell you.
investigate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
definitely one of them. Oh my gosh, there's so many, but I've done a lot of code here. Some in the Chicago area, of course, just with
Mhm.
GRS, but Mansfield just for the history, and of
Mhm.
Yeah.
course Gettysburg for the history. But yeah, so it looks like next year. So
Woo, that's exciting.
Ohio's beautiful. I think
Oh,
that whole area
yes.
out there is very beautiful,
Mhm.
very historic. Everyone's
Yeah,
like,
you
"Oh,
don't
look at that
realize.
San Diego, it's so pretty." It's like, well, I think the Midwest is pretty too.
Yeah, Ohio is just so unique because we have, not just ghostly places, we have
Mhm,
cryptids, we
mhm.
have elementals. It's, the heart of the Native American land. We have all of the mounds and
Right.
the sacred mounds here. um, Bigfoot sightings. I mean, just, UFO. I could go on and on.
Oh yeah, right.
And
Yep.
it's just great because like anywhere you go in Ohio, you could probably get in like 3-4 hours around the whole state. But
That's
there's so
nice.
many
Mhm.
places. There's Octagon Hall and what's the manor, Joe? It was on one of the ghost shows.
I don't know. I
Ah,
can't think.
I
Is
got
it's
a
not,
million of
I
them.
think, is it not Hills? Oh gosh, it's on the tip of my
Mm,
tongue. I know
I
what
know.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
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 But anyways,
But
it's just, when you live in Ohio, you want to be in California.
yeah.
And when you're in
Mhm.
California, you're like, I gotta go other places.
Is right? Exactly. Oh my gosh, exactly. Totally.
Now, in your experience, have you ever had you know, spirits come to you that spoke another language? So Joe and I were having this discussion the other day. Like, we went to this was a while back. We went to a
Mhm.
cemetery here in town, and there was graves from the Spanish American War up through modern times, and we were getting voices in dialects and in other languages, Italian and
Wow.
Spanish, and we were at the Black Cross, which is
Mhm.
another location in Pennsylvania that's just crazy. Look it up, it's insane.
I will.
Um,
I've heard of it before, I believe. So yep,
yeah,
yep.
it's but we were getting EVPs in other
Yeah.
languages.
It's the
Oh,
first time
that's
I've ever.
intriguing. Yeah. Were you
Yeah,
Mhm.
asking in English or were you actually
Mhm.
asking in that specific language?
in both. When we started getting languages we couldn't understand, we were using Google Translate to try to connect with the spirits through EVPs. And we were getting responses.
Oh, that's
And,
yeah, that could be why. We've used that too. Now I've experienced that a lot on board the RMS Queen Mary,
mm,
and we'd be in a group doing like a collective EVP session or a spirit box session. And interestingly, the questions were asked in English, but we would get responses, or not even some responses, but just vocalizations coming through in German and Italian and other types of languages. And then, of course, at the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe, we would experiment by asking certain. Now, this is interesting. We've had experiences where we'd propose a question in English or propose a question in Spanish, and then we get a response in English. And then when we propose it in English, we would get, or the reverse of that, if you will.
Mhm.
So that's interesting when that happens. So like, yeah, we'd ask in English, we get a response in Spanish. We'd ask in Spanish, would get a response in English, and it's weird.
Yeah.
So
It's just like, another question. How does a spirit who maybe, died in, just for example, I'm just saying, like 1453 in Germany, and you're over there and you're speaking English, but yet you can communicate. It's like on the other side, do they have an all-knowing,
I think they
like
do.
a universal language where it just translates and everybody understands each other?
yeah, that's what I think. Maybe it's like an all access to the compendium of the Akashic records. I don't. Yeah, I think it might be like universal language. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I agree.
So
Yeah. It's fascinating when
that is
happens.
fascinating when it happens. Yeah, and
Really?
it's. Or what about too? This is not that often, but it's happened a few times to just kind of get my brain going. Have you ever captured EVPs or even disembodied vocalizations or even ITC? But then when you reverse the audio, you can make something out that's different when you
I've
play
never
it in
tried
regular
that.
Never
playback.
tried that.
Try that. That's happened to us a few times, and
Hmm.
it's bizarre.
I've never
It's
thought of that.
yeah, it's bizarre. Um,
I mean, unless when we were kids and playing the records backwards, but
yeah,
Joe with his Aerosmith record going backwards.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've been always intrigued with the Queen Mary,
Mm.
Oh yeah.
and I've always been. I
Or-
don't know a lot about it. I mean, I know the specifics like the pool and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
I've always been intrigued about it, and I really would like to go out there. I mean,
Mhm.
I
Oh my
know
gosh, yes.
out there there are probably the Queen Mary. We've been there 1,000 times. But like we
I've
said,
lived there,
we're so far
so
away. I want to come out and check it out.
Mhm.
you should both come out and we could maybe set up like an investigation on board.
Mhm.
Even my friend does late weekend paranormal investigation tours. I don't think those are back yet because they're opening the ship up in stages right now. I was just on board on Saturday for the first time in like 3.5 years.
Oh,
So, and
Wow.
I mean, I go all the time. I mean, it's like my second home. So it was really good to be back on board. So they're actually starting to open hotel reservations on, and so then we're going back again May 20th, staying overnight. But that would be fun if you come out. We can book
mhm.
Yeah.
maybe a private investigation or maybe take one of Matt's late night,
Yeah.
assuming those
That
come back. There's just
Mhm.
so many places on board, and a lot of people that haven't been, they want to go to the hotspot locations, the aft engine room, the boiler rooms, the
Mhm.
pool, and all of that. But anywhere on board, you can have an amazing experience. So
Mhm.
it's
Do you
so
ever have?
historical.
Yeah. Do you ever have specific spirits that know you're back and communicate with you on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few. Jackie, the little girl that a lot of people communicate with, Jackie, she's about 6 or 7 years old. We don't really know her origins. The late psychic investigator Peter James, he's no longer with us. He, I believe, is the one that first coined Jackie back in the 90s when he was in the former first and third class pool. But some people think she's not real. Some people think she's a psychokinetic creation. I believe she's truly and obviously is real. There might be some hologram of a psychokinetic creation from her from the amount of people that go on board wanting to
Yeah.
communicate with her. But I've had numerous, spanning almost 20 years, numerous experiences with her. Very, very intelligent young girl. I have a different theory about who she is. I feel like almost she's like the personification of the ship itself. I think the ship is extremely sentient. That's just my opinion for
Yeah.
having been there so many times. Another crew member who I know very well, he was an 18-year-old fire cleaner who sadly passed away on July 10th, 1966, in the aft engine room. His first name is John. Just out of respect for the family, I'm not going to say his last name. His initials are JP, but first name is John. He's very active, but it. I would say for me, and I don't know exactly, but based on my experiences, I would say 60% intelligent activity and maybe 40% residual around
Okay.
there based on the experiences I've had on board.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel that there are more spirits there because people are coming and wanting to see them? I mean, do you think they're relocating, basically relocating from a different location and coming there?
that's a good
Or do you
I've
think?
I've pondered this for many years. There's
Mhm.
something very different. No, I shouldn't say different, but there's something very special about the Queen Mary. In my opinion, I almost feel that the entire ship is sentient.
Mhm.
There are these human spirits as well. Some of them I believe have been there for a while and might choose to stay for whatever reason. I also believe, again, my own personal, I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know, that other energies come through the Queen Mary just because she's a beacon for spiritual energy, or seems to be. It's similar to if you go to, if you're driving to a different state and you stop at a welcome center. I feel
Yeah.
in many ways that's kind of an analogy, that Queen Mary is like a welcome center for many spiritual energies. Some stay and some choose to just pass through. But the late Captain John Treasure Jones, he's the one that brought the Queen Mary into Long Beach on December 9th, 1967. He did say that the Queen Mary is as close to a human being of any ship that I've ever commanded.
Oh,
So a
wow.
lot of former crew, former passengers feel that, there's something drawing and something about the ship that just draws you in and wants you to
Mhm.
be connected with her. And even one of the war brides, June Allen, she's a good friend of us. She was among the wave of war brides after World War II. And she says it, she's like, the Queen Mary opens her arms to everyone, but there's people that she chooses. And I
Mm.
asked her about that, and she said if the Queen Mary feels like you can connect with her, she's going to choose you. And so
Mm.
that's coming from a war bride who
Yeah.
loves
Wow.
the ship, loves coming. In fact, she's coming out again in July. So wonderful lady. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I've never thought about that as being, we go to haunted houses and stuff like that, or haunted locations. Never thought of the actual location itself having a haunt to it like
right.
that. Like you're saying, it's almost like its own entity. And,
Right.
maybe down the road, once we learn a little more, maybe we could communicate with it.
I think we
Oh,
do though, because people get almost addicted to locations. Like it calls them. Like
Yeah.
we
that's an
had
example. Mhm.
Hmm.
a friend who bought this old historic home, and he was gonna um, flip it, clean it up and flip it. And
Yeah.
he got
Yeah.
to the point where it's a long story, but they found a lot of bones in the house. They call it the bone
Oh,
house. It was used
wow.
for Santeria for over 100 years. And he would get up in the middle of the night, leave his family, and go to this house.
Not even get dressed. He
No,
would just walk
he
out.
was just like walking it, like it called to him.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it was the actual physical house
Mhm.
or what was contained inside of it that,
Hmm.
people,
Right.
because we talk about like the stone tape theory where, things get imprinted into the
Mhm.
wood or the stone or the, whatever material it's made out of.
Exactly.
And can it take on its own, um, like a life of its own, I guess you
Yeah.
would call it,
Hmm.
Right. Right.
because of the spiritual energy that may have, been imprinted into the physical material. Who knows?
It's
I mean,
super fascinating. Yeah, and I've thought of that too. I've had some past life regressionists even message me saying, I feel that you have a past life on board. I've always
Oh,
felt that as well. There's some ships in general, but there's these past life connections that we may have as well to certain places. So
Mhm.
it's so
Yeah,
fascinating.
I did get lost in Long Beach one time trying to find an apartment.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
When
Yeah,
I
that
first
can
moved to
happen.
when I first
It can
moved to
happen.
California, I had no clue. I thought like Long Beach was like around the block from Hollywood.
Right? Oh my gosh.
I was trying to go look at this apartment, which was $310 a month. And I was like, oh, that's right up my alley. And it was so far away. I got lost. I was in Long Beach, just in the ghetto. It's like,
Were you in
um,
Compton? You might have been in Compton.
I
Oh
don't
my
think I
gosh.
was.
Oh
But
no.
eventually, when I was driving around, I saw the Queen Mary and I was like, okay, I think I'm near an expressway or something.
Yeah, you said the 710. There you were. The good old 710. Yep.
Oh,
Yep. And Compton, I believe, is right over there. But yeah.
yeah.
That whole area of Long Beach, though, like Shoreline Village across from the
Mhm.
ship and all, there's so many like neat things to
Yeah.
do, restaurants and shops and all of this good stuff. So I can't wait for you guys to come out.
yeah,
No.
I want to.
It's been probably 10 years since I've been to California, and
Oh
I'm just like,
wow,
oh,
yeah. Let
like,
me know
you
when you do, because there's a lot
yeah,
of other places, and even in like LA and Hollywood to do as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah. When I lived there, I had some really strange experiences. I can't even tell you
mhm.
how
Yep.
interesting. Um,
Yeah, totally.
you know, for
Cecil
sure.
Hotel, I stayed there once. I'm like, kinda like, "Should I stay there again?" Yeah, why not? You know? Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, just the history alone, right?
Mhm.
Like you can walk down Hollywood Boulevard and see ghosts.
Oh, totally, totally. It's
Like,
where it's at.
yeah.
Totally. You
We'll
gotta
do
check it
another
out.
show just on Hollywood haunts.
Oh my god, we should totally do that. Yeah, I
I'll
can't
do a
wait to
million stories of my time in Hollywood. It
oh
was
my
great.
gosh, that would be a fun show, right? That would be
Mhm.
super fun. Have you
Yeah,
guys
for
on
sure.
mine too. Anytime
I would
when I
love
get it
to.
up and rolling, I'll let you
Yeah,
know for sure. So,
definitely. Well,
Well,
we really, really time goes so fast, right?
yeah,
right?
Like,
Doesn't it though?
so
It's insane.
it is. But we really, really appreciate you coming on the podcast
mhm.
and sharing your stories and your books with us. And for our listeners, please tell everybody where they can go to check out your book and your website.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. It's been a lot of fun
Awesome.
today.
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome, good time. So my main website is authornicolestrickland.com. So you can find the books there. They're also pretty much wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. The Afterlife Chronicles is actually going to be published on April
Yeah.
25th on Amazon, ebook, paperback, and hardback. And then the first week of May, I'm going to get it on Ingram Spark. So it'll be distributed to a lot of the online retailers. So that's April 25th. Let's see, I'm, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You guys can find me on there. But and then our team's website, which totally needs to be redone, that's San Diego Paranormal Research.com. But my main website is authornicolestrickland.com.
Great.
Awesome.
So
But before I let you go, I want to ask one last question.
sure.
The reader is finally done and finally gets that last period on the last page and shuts the book. What's the first thought that you want to pop in their head?
Oh my gosh, of the Afterlife Chronicles, I'm assuming. Oh, this is a
Yeah.
fantastic question. My goodness. I would
On the
say
spot, Joe.
on the spot. What's on the spot? I would say when we lose loved ones that are near and dear to us, it's hard, but to remember that they are eternally with us, that their
Mhm.
spirit, their energy, their essence is always with us and not far apart. I would say that would be the one
That's
thing to
beautiful.
take away from that. So
Yeah, that's
Very
that's a
awesome.
good question. I was like, whoa, on the spot. That's what so
Yeah. So, all right, Nicole, thank you so much. This
We
was so
appreciate
much
you.
fun.
thank you
And as
guys. You guys
always,
are
we'll put
awesome.
all, yeah, thank you. And but as always, we'll put all your information in the show notes. So if you want to click on the show notes or if you just want to type it in, you can do either. But thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast. And thank you, listener, for
Fine.
tuning in this week. And like we always say, please get up on our website. We have the t-shirts for sale on there. We have all the events that we're going to be at. We have a lot of conventions coming up in convention season. So
Yep.
join us at a convention. If you do come out to a convention and or anywhere you see us live, please come up to the table, say hi, and just have fun, you know. And if you want to get on the show, we'll have all our equipment there. Come on the show.
Yes. I'd love to hear everybody's ghost stories, Bigfoot stories, cryptid stories, and of course, UFOs. Once again, thanks for listening,
right.
everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Have a wonderful week and stay ghostly.
And